Daniel uncovered a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards.
Just keep looking.
Inside a wooden box lay a bundle of faded letters and a small metal tag. The tag read, Ash. If found, bring him home. The final letter revealed the truth. The dog's previous owner hadn't abandoned him, but left him in trust, hoping he'd find someone worthy. If you are reading this, it means he trusted you, the letter said.
For years.
The dog pressed closer to Daniel. The promise wasn't just to stay, it was to finally be home. If you stay, I stay. The words slipped into the cold air like something fragile. Something that might break if spoken too loudly. Daniel Mercer stood at the edge of a quiet roadside. The wind brushing against his worn jacket, carrying the faint scent of pine and distant rain. In front of him, barely moving, was the dog. A German shepherd. Thin. Dust-coated. One hind leg dragging slightly behind the other as if the earth itself had grown too heavy to carry. The dog didn't growl. Didn't run. It simply watched him with a stillness that felt older than fear. Daniel had seen that kind of stillness before. In places where silence meant you learned to stop expecting anything to come back for you. He crouched slowly. Joints stiff. Breath visible in the cooling evening air. And extended a hand that had once carried weight far greater than this moment. The dog's ears twitched. Not in alarm, but in recognition of something it didn't quite trust yet. For a long second, neither moved.
Here for years.
The world narrowed to the quiet rhythm of wind through dry grass, and the distant hum of a passing truck somewhere far beyond the hills.
Yeah, I know.
Daniel didn't call.
Just the way we like it.
Didn't coax. He just stayed. And after a while, the dog took one careful step forward. Then another. Until its nose hovered just inches from his fingers. There was no sudden change. No miracle in that instant. Just the quiet decision not to turn away. Daniel exhaled slowly. A breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding for years. All right, he murmured. Voice low and steady, as if speaking to something sacred. We don't leave each other. And for the first time in a long time, the silence around him didn't feel empty. Daniel did not remember deciding to take the dog with him. Only that when he stood up and turned toward the narrow gravel road, the soft scrape of an uneven step followed close behind. The evening stretched long and pale across the horizon. The kind of light that lingered just before disappearing, as if the day itself was reluctant to let go. He walked for nearly half a mile before reaching the old pickup truck parked beneath a leaning oak tree. Its faded blue paint dulled by years of weather and waiting.
Is this what you were looking for?
The dog paused a few feet away, watching the vehicle like it might suddenly come alive and chase him off. Daniel opened the passenger door slowly, the hinges creaking in protest, and stepped back without a word. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a careful shift of weight and a quiet determination that seemed to rise from somewhere deep within him, the dog lifted himself up. Struggling just enough to make the effort visible. And climbed into the seat. He settled there without sound. His body tense but still. As if unsure how long this place would belong to him. Daniel closed the door gently and walked around to the driver's side. His boots crunching against loose gravel. Inside, the truck smelled faintly of old leather, engine oil, and something else.
Just keep looking.
Something like time itself. He started the engine, and it answered with a low, steady rumble. As they pulled onto the empty road, the world outside blurred into shadows and fading light. The dog kept his eyes forward. Ears flicking at distant sounds only he could hear. Daniel glanced over once, then returned his focus to the road. It had been years since he had shared a space this quiet with another living soul.
Another beautiful morning,
Strangely,
boy.
it did not feel like an
I know.
intrusion.
Just the
It
way
felt
we
like
it.
something returning to its place. The road carried them away from the last traces of town. Until even the distant glow of streetlights disappeared behind rolling hills and quiet stretches of forest. Daniel turned onto a narrower path. One that curved between tall pines whose branches leaned overhead like old guardians whispering to each other in the wind. After another 10 minutes, the truck slowed. Then stopped in front of a small, weathered cabin set back about 30 yards from the dirt road. The structure looked as though it had been standing there longer than anyone could remember. Its wooden boards faded to a soft gray. Its porch sagging slightly on one side.
Hold on, boy.
Daniel
We'll
cut the
find
engine.
help. Just
And the
keep
sudden
looking.
silence settled around them like a blanket. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the dog shifted, glancing toward the cabin. His ears lifting. His body alert in a way that did not feel like fear. It was something quieter. Something searching.
Found it.
Daniel stepped out
It's been
first,
down here for years.
boots pressing into the cool earth, and walked toward
Is
the
this what
porch
you
with
were
a
looking
steady,
for?
unhurried
Another beautiful
pace.
morning, boy.
The dog
Yeah, I
followed,
know.
favoring
Just
his
the way we
hind
like
leg,
it.
but refusing to fall behind. When Daniel reached the door, he paused, resting his hand against the worn wood as if greeting something familiar. The door opened with a soft creak, revealing a space filled with stillness, dust, and the faint scent of cedar. Inside, the air held the memory of years spent in silence. Daniel stepped in, setting his bag down near the wall, while the dog lingered at the threshold, studying the room like it held a language only he could understand. Then, slowly, he crossed into the cabin. His nails tapped lightly against the wooden floor. Each step careful,
Hold on, boy.
deliberate.
We'll find help.
He moved toward the
Just
center of
keep
the
looking.
room, then stopped, his head tilting slightly as if listening to something buried beneath the quiet. Daniel watched him, a subtle tension forming in his chest. Some places remember things, he thought. And sometimes, the ones who listen closest are not human at all. The cabin
Found it.
held its breath as
It's
the
been
last
down
light
here
of
for
evening slipped
years.
through the narrow windows, and stretched thin across the
Is this
wooden
what you were
floor,
looking
turning
for?
dust into
Another
something
beautiful
almost
morning,
alive.
boy.
Yeah,
Daniel
I know.
moved slowly through the room,
Just the way we like it.
setting small things in place with quiet intention, as if careful not to disturb whatever silence had settled there long before he arrived. He found an old lantern on a shelf near the wall, its glass slightly clouded. And after a few steady adjustments, a soft amber glow filled the space. It was not bright, but it was enough. Enough to soften the edges of memory. The dog remained near the center of the room, unmoving at first. His ears angled forward. His body held in that same attentive stillness. Then, without warning, he took a step toward a far corner of the
Hold
cabin,
on, boy.
the faint
We'll
drag
find
of his
help.
hind leg whispering
Just keep
against the
looking.
wood. He lowered his head and sniffed the floor.
Woof.
Once. Twice. Then pressed his paw gently against a single plank as if marking it. Daniel noticed the shift immediately. He did not speak. He simply watched. The way one watches something that might
Found it.
disappear if questioned
It's been
too
down here for
soon.
years.
The dog stepped back, then forward
Is
again,
this what you were looking for?
repeating the
Another
motion with
beautiful
quiet
morning, boy.
persistence.
Yeah, I know.
There was no urgency in
Just
it,
the way we like it.
no fear. Only a calm insistence. Like a memory trying to surface through layers of time. Daniel walked closer, his boots making soft, measured sounds against the floorboards. He crouched beside the dog and placed his hand flat against the wood. At first, there was nothing. Just the steady stillness of an old structure settling into the night. But then, faintly, almost too faint to trust, there was a difference. A subtle hollow beneath the surface. A space where there should have been none. Daniel exhaled slowly, his gaze drifting to the dog, who now watched him with quiet certainty.
Hold on, boy.
Some things,
find
he
help.
thought, are not
Just
found.
keep looking.
They are remembered, by those who never forgot how to listen. Daniel did not rush. He remained crouched beside the marked plank, his hand still resting against the wood as if the answer might rise through his palm if he waited long enough. The dog stood close, his breathing slow and
Found
steady,
it. It's been down
eyes
here
fixed
for
on the same
years.
spot with a quiet patience that felt almost deliberate.
Is this what you were
Outside,
looking
the
for?
wind moved
Another
through the
beautiful
trees in
morning,
long,
boy.
low whispers,
Yeah, I know.
brushing against
Just
the
the way
cabin
we
walls
like it.
like something remembering its way back. Daniel shifted slightly and ran his fingers along the edge of the board. Feeling for a seam. A weakness. Anything that might explain the hollow beneath. There it was. Subtle but certain. A narrow line where the grain broke just enough to suggest it had once been lifted. He leaned back, studying it. Not with suspicion, but with a kind of respect. Some things were hidden for a reason. Some things waited. The dog let out a soft sound. Not quite a whine, more like a breath shaped into meaning. And tapped the plank once with his paw. Daniel gave a faint nod.
Just keep looking.
As if acknowledging a partner rather than an animal.
Woof.
All right, he murmured. Voice low, steady. He rose and moved toward the far wall where an old set of tools rested against a wooden crate. Untouched, but not forgotten. He selected a small pry bar.
Found
Its
it.
metal cool and
It's
worn.
been down here for years.
And returned to the spot. Carefully, he slid the edge
what you were
beneath the
looking
seam
for?
and applied
Another
just enough
beautiful
pressure.
morning, boy.
The wood
Yeah, I
resisted
know.
at first, holding
Just
on
the
to
way we
years
like
of
it.
stillness. Then gave with a soft, reluctant creak. The plank lifted slowly. Releasing a breath of air that carried the scent of earth and time. Beneath it, darkness waited. Not empty, but full of something yet unseen. Daniel paused. The lantern light flickering gently beside him. And for a moment, he did not look inside. Because some discoveries do not begin with seeing. They begin with understanding that something was always there. Waiting for the right hands to find it. Daniel lowered the lantern closer to the opening. The soft amber light spilling into the narrow space beneath the floor
Hold
like a
on, boy.
quiet invitation.
We'll find help.
Shadows shifted
Just
along
keep
the
looking.
edges. Revealing the outline of a small compartment. Carefully shaped. Deliberately made. It was not large. No more than 2 feet deep. Just enough to hold something meant to be kept, not forgotten. The air rising from it carried a faint scent of aged paper
Found
and
it.
cedar.
It's been down here
A scent
for
that
years.
felt less like decay and more like preservation. The
Is this
dog
what you were
stepped
looking
closer.
for?
Another beautiful
His body
morning,
steady
boy.
despite the strain
Yeah,
in
I
his
know.
hind leg.
Just the way
And
we
peered
like
down without hesitation. As if this place belonged to a memory he had never fully lost. Daniel reached in slowly. His movements measured. Respectful. And his fingers brushed against the surface of a wooden box. It was smooth. Worn by time but not damaged. Its edges rounded from years of waiting rather than neglect. He lifted it carefully. Bringing it into the lantern light. And for a moment, he simply held it. Feeling its weight. Its quiet presence. There were no markings on the lid. No lock. No sign that it was meant to be hidden
Hold
away
on,
from the
boy.
world forever.
We'll find help.
Only that it had been placed
keep
where it
looking.
could be found. Someday.
Woof.
By someone willing to listen. The dog let out a soft breath. And lowered himself gently onto the floor beside Daniel. His head resting near the man's knee. Eyes fixed on the box with calm attention. Daniel
Found
traced
it.
the edge of the
It's
lid
been
with his
down
thumb.
here for years.
Then slowly opened it. Inside lay a
Is
folded
this what
piece
you
of
were looking
cloth.
for?
Another beautiful
Beneath it,
morning,
a
boy.
bundle of letters tied
Yeah,
with
I
a
know.
thin, faded string.
Just the way we like it.
And resting on top, a small metal tag that caught the light just enough to shimmer. Daniel's breath caught. Not in shock, but in recognition of something deeper than surprise. Some stories, he realized, do not end when people leave. They wait. Carried forward by those who remember how to care. Daniel did not reach for the letters right away. His hand hovered above them. As if the air between his fingers and the paper carried something heavier than weight. The lantern flickered softly. Casting a slow rhythm of light across the box. Across the dog's still form beside him. Across the quiet room that seemed to
Hold
lean
on,
in
boy.
and listen.
We'll find
Finally,
help.
he lifted the
Just keep
small metal
looking.
tag first. It was worn smooth along the
Woof.
edges. Its surface dulled by years of touch. But the engraving remained clear enough to read. A name. Ash. Daniel's breath slowed. His eyes shifting almost instinctively toward the dog.
Found it.
The shepherd did
It's
not
been down
move.
here for years.
But there was a subtle change in him. A quiet awareness.
Is this what you were looking for?
As if the
Another
sound of that
beautiful
name
morning,
had
boy.
reached somewhere deeper than
Yeah,
memory.
I know.
Daniel
Just the way
turned the
we
tag
like it.
over in his hand. And beneath the name, barely visible, was a second line. If found, bring him home. The word settled into the space between them. Not as a command, but as a promise left unfinished. Daniel set the tag gently on his knee. And untied the string around the letters. The paper felt fragile but not forgotten. Each fold opened with care. Each page carrying handwriting that moved steadily across the lines. Unhurried. Deliberate. He read in silence. His expression shifting not with shock, but with recognition. The writer spoke of long roads.
Hold on, boy.
Of quiet
We'll
nights.
find help.
Of a
Just keep
companion who
looking.
had stayed when others could not. There were mentions of this very cabin. Of leaving something behind not because it was lost, but because it was meant to be found by the right hands. Daniel paused on one line. His gaze lingering as if the words refused to let go. If you are
Found it.
reading this,
It's
it
been
means he
down here
trusted
for
you.
years.
The room grew still around him. The kind of
this what you were
stillness that
looking
does not
for?
empty a
Another
space,
beautiful
but
morning,
fills it
boy.
with meaning.
Yeah, I know.
Daniel lowered the letter
Just the way
slowly,
we like it.
his hand resting against the dog's back. Feeling the steady rise and fall of breath. Some bonds, he realized, are not built in a single moment. They are carried forward, quietly. Until someone is ready to understand them. Daniel read the remaining letters slowly. Each page unfolding like a quiet confession carried across time. And with every line, the space between past and present began to close. The man who had written them had not been searching for rescue or recognition. Only for a place where something good could remain after he was gone. He wrote about the dog not as a possession, but as a companion who had seen him through the
Hold
kind
on,
of
boy.
silence that no words
We'll
could fill.
find help.
And in
Just
those
keep
words,
looking.
Daniel felt something shift inside his chest.
Woof.
Something long buried beginning to loosen. The final letter was shorter than the rest. Its ink slightly faded, but its meaning unmistakably clear. I could not fix everything I broke, it read, but I hope I left something that could still be whole.
Found it.
Daniel lowered
It's
the
been
page,
down here for years.
his hand resting lightly on the edge of the box. And
this
for a
what you were
moment,
looking
he
for?
closed his
Another
eyes.
beautiful morning, boy.
The years he had
Yeah,
spent
I know.
carrying regret.
Just the way we
The
like
choices
it.
he had never found a way to set down. All of it stirred beneath the surface like something finally given permission to breathe. Beside him, the dog shifted. Pressing closer. His head resting against Daniel's leg with a quiet trust that asked for nothing but presence. Daniel placed his hand gently along the dog's neck. Fingers moving through coarse fur. Grounding himself in the steady warmth of another living being. He glanced once more at the letters. Then at the small metal tag resting nearby. Its simple message no longer just a request. But something deeper. Something that had already begun to take shape.
Hold on,
Outside,
boy.
the wind softened,
We'll find help.
the trees settling
keep
into
looking.
a calmer rhythm. As if the world itself had
Woof.
exhaled. Daniel rose slowly, carrying the box with him. And set it carefully on the small wooden table near the window. The cabin no longer felt empty. It felt claimed. Not by ownership, but by
Found it.
understanding.
It's been down here
Some
for
inheritances, he realized, are not about what is given,
years. Is this
but
what
about
you were
what is
looking
finally
for?
accepted.
Another beautiful morning, boy.
Morning arrived
Yeah, I
quietly,
know.
not with
Just the way
noise
we
or
like it.
urgency, but with a pale, steady light that slipped through the cabin windows. And settled gently across the wooden floor. Daniel stood near the table. One hand resting beside the box. Watching as the first rays of sunlight touched its surface. Revealing details that had been hidden in the softer glow of the lantern. The dog lay a few feet away. Stretched out near the warmth of the rising light. His breathing even. His body no longer held in guarded tension, but in something closer to rest. For the first time since the night before, Daniel allowed himself to step outside. The air was cool, carrying the scent
Hold
of
on,
pine
boy.
and damp earth.
We'll find help.
And the world beyond
Just
the
keep
cabin felt
looking.
unchanged, yet somehow different. The trees stood as they always had, tall and patient. The dirt road still winding quietly through the landscape. But there was a subtle shift in how it all felt. As if the weight he had carried into this place had been left behind somewhere within those walls.
Found it.
He took a
It's
slow
been down
breath,
here for years.
filling his lungs fully. Then exhaled,
Is this what you were looking
watching
for?
the faint
Another
trace of it
beautiful
disappear
morning,
into
boy.
the morning.
Yeah, I know.
Behind him, he heard the
Just the way
soft
we
scrape
like
of
it.
movement. The uneven but determined steps that had already become familiar. The dog joined him on the porch, standing close without crowding, his gaze drifting out toward the open land as if seeing it for the first time as well. Daniel reached down, resting his hand gently against the dog's shoulder, feeling the quiet strength beneath the surface. Neither of them spoke. And neither needed to. The promise made on that roadside had not been loud, had not changed the world in any visible way. But it had done something far more lasting. It had stayed. And